Hello, everyone. I'm Tyler Rosado, and this is the DIVA Checkpoint. This is your go-to stop for bold insights, big vision, and real action from leaders across Circle K International. Each episode, my guests and I unpack what's happening, what's next, and how we're showing up to lead, with plenty of fun and maybe a little drama along the way. Without further ado, let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the DIVA Checkpoint. Before we get into today's episode, I want to wish CKI a happy 78th birthday. For 78 years, this organization has been giving back to local communities near you on college campuses around the globe. And this is something to celebrate every single day. But of course, on our birthday, it is extra special. So if you're listening to this on our birthday, of course, go out and do something on behalf of CKI. And even if it's not the day of, think about what we can do to help our organization get to its 79th, its 80th, and every birthday to come for years and years. Now, on today's episode, we have a very special guest. It is a club president from my home district of the Carolinas, and so I'm super excited to have this conversation with Alia Smith. Alia Smith is the current president of East Carolina University CKI. She has been a part of CKI since her freshman year in 2022, and soon joined the executive officer team, serving as recruitment and orientation officer. Alia has lovingly enjoyed every part of what Circle K has to offer, from the impact on the community through service to camaraderie found through fellowship, which can be found and solidified at various CKI events like game nights, movie nights, fall call, or decon. And overall, CKI and Alia have been attached to the hip for 4 years, and she hopes to continue serving and impacting the world, one person and one community at a time after college. This was a super fun conversation to have, and so without further ado, let's get right into it. Hello, Alia, and welcome to the Diva Checkpoint podcast. I'm so excited to have you on today. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to be here and do this with you.
Yes. I'm so excited to have you on. You have been one of probably my most engaged presidents that I've had the pleasure of working with so far as governor of Carolinas District. So I was really excited to see your, application come in and to have you on the pod. I think it's super cool to watch you, start to step into the role at ECU, because ECU is one of our more just like established clubs that has a presence and has had presence for years. But it's always exciting to see some, kind of like new leadership step up and see where things can innovate and happen. But first, I just want to do a little check-in and, ask how are you doing this week? It's the summertime. What's bringing you joy this week?
Something that has been bringing me joy is just um, really spending time with like family, friends, reading my Bible, things like that have been uplifting. Because it has been a troublesome week just with like school and not feeling as motivated anymore. I've been doing 2 summer classes, so the workload is nonstop, but I am just, biting the bullet and getting down and dirty, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I can respect that because I definitely understand having to kind of balance that in the summertime. Obviously, a college student summer looks a lot different than the summer of, high schoolers and middle schoolers.
hmm
We
For
really
sure.
we really have to take advantage of that time to get classes done, or that was my case last summer, was getting classes
hmm
done and trying to stay on track. This summer has definitely been trying to do as much for CKI as possible now, so that way when my semester really ramps up in the fall and in the spring, I'm not too worried about things being out of place or stuff like that. And I'm sure
Yeah.
you're sort of feeling the same way with your presidency at ECU.
hmm
But you know, pulling back a little bit to maybe the beginning, what drew you to CKI at ECU?
So the first thing is when I got on campus, I got an email, maybe I don't know how far into the semester, but it was like one of the only clubs that had reached out to me, via email at that. So I was already intrigued and things like that. So I decided to go to one of their interest meetings and I meet Krista Wilhelm, who is our advisor. or one of our advisors, and Zoe Nivens, who wasn't president yet at that time. It was Ali, who's president, but Zoe was, I can't even remember her position. She was doing so many things and wearing so many hats at that time. So she was somewhere on the board, and um, I almost felt like she was like the recruitment person because I think she was behind the email, maybe. I don't know. Don't hold me to that part. But Zoe Nevins was definitely like part of the reasons why I stayed. Um and just yeah, it was just a very fun time to be a part of Circle K. I could tell that they were growing and that they were really dedicated and loving people. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that you talk about kind of just like that email touch point being such a
Mm,
critical part of your own recruitment to the organization, and how, you know, a lot of times I'm in recruitment meetings, I'm talking to
mm,
clubs, they're asking for kind of bold, innovative new things for recruiting, but
mm. Yeah.
sometimes it does just take the smaller, sometimes a little more intensive tasks because you have to send out emails and
Yeah.
find people to send emails to, but a little thing like that can go a long way. So that's really, really great to hear. And I've had the pleasure of coming to an ECU general meeting before, and I feel what you mean when you say it's like a loving and warm environment. That's definitely how I felt when I got to come visit. That was the first club that I ever visited as governor, so that
Oh.
was really cool. And so I guess just talk a little bit about, I know you've been able to attend some just like district events where you've seen other clubs and folks from other clubs at this point. What makes ECU so special in your eyes?
Um, let's see. I feel like it's definitely like the family feel. I say that so often because it's just so true. I feel like it's not just Circle K, but it's also the people at ECU. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's Southern charm or Southern hospitality, whatever it may be, but everybody is just so welcoming and kind and just willing to, serve others as well as, serve like we're serving each other, but I don't know how to say it. Like, we're getting something out of serving, you know? Um, yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you mean. It was I guess it was lead con before I was president at NC State, or when I was stepping into that role. That was my first district-wide event, and it was Sydney Spellman, district editor, and
Mhm.
Angel, our wonderful service chair. They
Mhm.
both were so friendly and inviting, and those were kind of
Yeah.
like the first friends I made at that district event. And so I fully get what you mean of like you can tell when someone's from ECU and from our ECU club because they are just very like inviting and
Yeah.
want to get to know you and want to kind of bring you into family. I think that's the greatest part is not only
Mhm.
do you have a family dynamic, but you're also very willing to like welcome people. I remember there was someone new at the ECU meeting that I went to, and
Mhm.
he just kind of fell right in with the dynamic that you all had going there. And so I think that's really special and something that other clubs listening, folks in other clubs can really, take some lessons from. So that's really
Mhm.
awesome. What are you, switching gears, what are you studying at ECU just like in general?
So I am studying nutritional sciences right now. I will get my bachelor's of science in nutrition science. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And we're in CKI and we're doing our service, but at the same time, we're also
Mhm.
students studying to, of
Mhm.
course, try to achieve some sort of career goals. And so I guess I'm just wondering how your time in CKI has been able to help you, look to that future and feel more confident to whatever your future plans are.
For sure. I think it's definitely the connections, whether it's from alumni or like faculty and staff or just to the friends. Everybody is so encouraging. And like if you go to them, you can, lean on them, ask them for their advice and their help. If it's your friends in Circle K, like I'm really close to Angel and Sydney. I brought them into Circle K. I introduced them to it. And so now it's kind of we have like that push, I guess, to also because they're on district now, so to do our work for Circle K and things like that, but also to get our schoolwork done, we're always pushing each other. Um, yeah.
Yeah, totally. I that like bringing people into the fold is always so important. So it's I love to hear stories like that. Those are and
Mhm.
those stories happen so often in CCAT world. It's so amazing to hear. So that's really great. You in your application for this podcast, you said something about CKI and feeling like you've come full circle almost in this
Mm.
organization. And so I'd love to know a little bit more about kind of what that means to you.
Okay, so it is a full circle moment for me because I have been in it for so long, like just since freshman year. 3 years now, going into my fourth year as a senior, as the president of ECU Circle K. So I spent 2 years as the recruitment and orientation officer, and I think I did a great job of that. But I think I knew it was time to step up on in the ranks. I wanted to be president. I think literally I had it in the back of my mind since freshman year. And so to be here now, trained as president, and I'm leading others and things like that, it just really has become like a full circle moment for me.
Yeah, totally. And you know, obviously Circle K, full circle, it's the puns write themselves, but that honestly is the fun leadership tenet of our organization that I love getting to see is the fact that, you know, we have some leaders that maybe, it was never in the cards. They didn't really ever think about stepping into certain roles, and then they do and they find success. Others who step into roles early on, and then they always kind of think it in the back of their mind, and they're never really sure until that moment happens where it is kind of their moment to step up, lead a club, and they find so much success. And so I know that's going to be the story of your presidency will be that you really stepped into it, and this was definitely the moment where ECU needed you the most, and you're here as president. So it's super exciting. I'd love to talk a little bit about how you feel you've interacted at the district level, just because I know for some people who might be feeling a little nervous to say, step into a presidency role or to, run for president or apply, however that may be, they sometimes may feel like they're on their own because that is such
Mhm.
like the top position of the club. But then, of course, we have this whole district component that many people aren't aware of at the time, or at least don't consider when they're potentially considering a run. So I guess, going back, I remember it was, I think, decon where I got on a phone call with you. And I'd love if you could tell me just a little bit about, obviously for the listeners, describe a little bit about that phone call, but how, it made you feel, and then how it's led you to this moment as president.
Oh gosh, that phone call. Um, I I honestly wasn't expecting all of that to happen on that phone call. That phone call was like 20 people on one side and just me on the other. And it was people that I didn't, formally meet yet. You were on the call, Sydney, Angel. I think you guys were in a car or something, right?
Yes.
And it was just, it started off as Angel, I think, who called me, just wanting to check in on how I'm doing and um, trying to get me to, consider running for presidency for Circle K at ECU. And I had been teeter-tottering it in my mind. I was just like, I don't know. But the whole car started chiming in as soon as I said that, like, no, you gotta do it. You should do it. You should do it. Like, from what Angel and Cindy have told me, like, you're the perfect person for the job. I'm like, whoa, okay. Like, it just meant a lot to me for sure to have people who didn't even know me, haven't met me yet, to be, what's the advocating for me. It was a really special, and I think it definitely was a factor into why I did apply because I was like, I've got people on my side who I haven't even met yet. So it was just really touching in that moment.
Yeah, yeah, and I love to use the word like advocating because that really was kind of what's happening. And I think prior to that call, Sydney and Angel had talked to me about it and were advocating for you in the sense that, you know, they were like, she has genuine concerns about this role, and we don't want to, misrepresent the role and say it's a walk in the park. There are times that are challenging and difficult. And I
Mm,
think they not only wanted me to say get on a call and express like you should do it, but also express that, genuinely I will be there for you every step of the way and support you in every way that
yeah.
I can. And I think that was really an eye-opening moment for myself because I saw them advocating for you in that way, and I knew that, it meant a lot because their opinion means so
Mm,
much, and for them to feel so strongly about you, I knew that I could support you all the way and you do amazing things. I guess for a little bit of context too about that phone call, I always tell people that that was kind of like the first moment where I really felt like the weight of the governor's role because,
mm.
and it was almost like a Hollywood movie or something in the moment. So, for context, it was the Saturday night of district convention. So, we had our president's banquet. So, we're all dressed up really nice. I'm wearing like my full
Mhm.
suit. And the place where we had like our convention stuff was a different building than the actual hotel where like our cars were parked and we were staying. And so I want to say some folks from NC State and like Angel and Sydney had all gone to like bring the car around, but I was kind of hanging back taking some pictures with folks. And so they were just like, well, we'll pull up the car, we'll go get ice cream after the ceremony of like the president's awards and stuff. And they'll pull up the car. And so I just remember like waiting outside of the building in my suit. It's dark outside because it's evening time. And then I feel like it had to have been like a black SUV or it was like a dark color SUV, like one you'd see drive the president of the United States around or something. And
Right.
it speeds up to the front of the hotel and I can't even get in the door. The door opens and this phone is being pushed in my face.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and it was either Sydney or Angel had it in their hand. It was just like, it's Alia from ECU. You gotta talk to her, Tyler. This is who we're telling you about. You gotta talk to her. And without missing a beat, even though it was just like, what? Like you feel the urge to just like take a pause and be like, slow down, hold on. But I grabbed the phone, I got in the car, and I just felt like I spoke from the heart is what I really tried to do.
Yes.
I hope it felt that way.
Hmm.
Like, I've been in that position of not knowing to run or to apply for the president role, and I
Hmm.
just knew that like all I would have wanted in that moment was someone who was in my corner, and so I wanted to be
Yeah.
that person for you. And so
Yeah.
it makes me happy to know that that's what it felt like on that call. And it
Mhm.
wasn't just me in your corner yet. You had a whole car SUV packed full of people who were in your
Oh,
corner.
yeah.
Um, and so moving into some more of the like actual logistic supports because I think it's important to provide just like moral support for the role, but
Yeah.
it's also important to provide those structures and things. And one thing that you um, have asked for me or asked from me and that I've given to you, and I'm curious of how you'll implement it. I'm excited to see it. Was the one-on-one documents that I provided
Mm.
in some more ECU specific training that we did. And
Mhm.
so I'd love to know a little bit of your perspective of what you plan to do and use that document for.
Yeah, I think um always touching base and just keeping a strong communication with action plans, action steps, I mean. It's just gonna be great and it's gonna help boost how we do as a club this year. And so with trying to instill strong communication, I think the one-to-one document that you created was very helpful and it already looks so strong. And so like being able to use it with the club and with our advisors for when I do one-to-ones with them and things like that. Um, I just think it's a great tool to have. The document has all the things that we need, honestly, really in it, and then some. I love that you added the resources tab at the end. I thought that was just so cute and nice and just all the right things. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm glad you bring up the resources tab because that was something where at first creating the document, which, for the listeners' context, the main document itself is just kind of like a meeting agenda for a one-on-one between any two people that have one. It's a template, so it can be adapted to anything. I primarily use it as governor to each of my district board members. I'll soon be using it to do president one-on-one check-ins throughout the year. But it has, a kind of an agenda that you can set before the meeting, a section for notes. So that all is pretty standard stuff. But
Mhm.
it also includes, like a built-in task tracker if you want to help, keep each other on task with things and keep each other on deadlines. And it has a resources tab that not only is all things like what is a one-on-one really basic, but then even going deeper to say like, well, how do you set a goal? Like, what is a SMART goal? Like all of these different
Mhm.
things that, I think sometimes it's important to make sure we're all on the same page about. I think one of the biggest lapses in communication that can happen sometimes is just assuming that we all know the same
Mhm.
things going into
Mhm.
something. And I think my biggest goal with creating that document, having it as a resource for, ECU, but also all of our other clubs and, even just myself and my board members at the district level is, you know, I remember my first one-on-one being for a job that I had like starting freshman year.
Mhm.
And, that was the only kind of experience I had with one-on-ones at the time. So I just was like, okay, this is kind of standard practice. We just sit and we talk for like 30 minutes. But then I had an internship in my second year where one-on-ones looked a lot more like the document that I shared. And I think at that
Mhm.
point I realized that I want all of my CKI members that are engaging in these one-on-ones to not only be able to take away things specific to whatever industries they're in and all of those things, but for even something as simple as a one-on-one, knowing that if your one-on-one doesn't look like a tool for you, then you should be able
Mhm.
to advocate for yourself. That's coming up again. Be able to advocate for yourself and say, I've been in good one-on-ones where we get productive, where we're productive, things get done. We check in with each other to see just how we're doing generally. So it's like all of these boxes that can be checked off. If they're not being checked off in your future role in,
Mhm.
a career somewhere else, because it is such a standard practice across many careers to have one-on-one meetings. And so I really am glad that you saw that opportunity to kind of integrate that system into your club. And so I'd
Mhm.
love to hear more about how that goes throughout the year.
Oh, for sure.
Um,
Yeah, I will
yeah.
keep you updated on that. Yeah.
Yes, that'd be amazing. And I would like to just also know, like, what are some of your goals for this year, and it can be anything from recruitment to even just like continuing service, new service projects that you're kind of floating ideas for. Like, what are
Mhm.
some of the things that you're looking forward to at ECU this year?
So one of them at the very top is just strong communication because I think a lot of things will stem from just a strong communication. And then um just building leaders, whether it's just through service or whether the members want to step up and, become on the or come on to the exec board and things like that. I want to increase our membership goals. Um we went up and then we kind of went down in membership. So I'm hoping that we can go up again and then kind of be consistent even the year after me. I want to set, I guess, the next e-board up for success. So starting them off stronger, with the more members, hopefully we can have a bit more money in our bank because, it costs to do service and do some of the things that we want to do. So hopefully we can have, I don't know, a good range of money left over and just things like that. I want to make a lasting mark for sure.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I think those are all great places to look in. And I think consistency and trying to think about not only your year, but the year after you is something that's really important for all people in CKI leadership positions to be considering.
Hmm.
Not because, it doesn't have to necessarily be a commitment to
Hmm.
say that, oh, well, as president this year, even into next year, I really have to like work on these things. Like, no, like that's not the expectation. But setting that future outlook and having that vision, I think is really critical to kind of bring others in on your vision and have them understand where you're trying to take the club and where you're trying to go. Especially
Yeah.
since there are some people I'm sure that will be on your board that will be around after your presidency who can then sort of continue that and carry that on. So that's really amazing. If I'm understanding this correctly, there is a club on your campus that you've collaborated with in the past and maybe collaborating with in the future, something to the tune of the Mr. Beast Philanthropy Club, which is
Yes.
I was taken aback when I heard of it because I was just like, what does that even mean? But I'd love to for you to just talk a little bit more about that.
So yes, we've wanted to partner with them, and I believe we have in the past, when Faith was the president, before me. Um, but I would love to partner with them again, doing whatever type of service events, that we could. Um, we did try to do a field day with them, and it might work out again this year. Just kind of have to wait and see on that one, see who's on board for it, and if we have like the manpower and the strength to do it, which I believe we do. And I would just love to see us do that because it, I guess, advocates again, for Circle K and like who we are. It gets our name out there. It gets other people to maybe, just join and have fun on campus, whether it's they join as a member or not in either, I guess, of the organizations. But it would just be fun to collab, and of course with Mr. Beast philanthropy, it's a fun time to be on campus and things like that. So,
Yeah, and I mean, I really can appreciate, obviously I have my biases and I have my preferences, and I think CKI is the best place to do service.
mhm.
But I also think it's cool that an organization exists that is kind of on the cutting edge of taking something so, new and modern and still bringing it back to service and philanthropy,
Yeah,
which, are these
absolutely.
tenets that we've held so dear in CKI for so long.
Mhm.
So that's totally amazing. I'd love to know more about things that you're really interested for in terms of maybe some marketing and maybe even social media stuff. If I understand correctly, you like making videos and doing things like
Mhm.
that. So maybe talk a little bit to that digital aspect of recruitment that sometimes
Mm.
gets overlooked by some clubs.
Yeah, as far as recruitment, I've already got ideas because I was, the past recruitment chair. And so I feel like my mind is already are always on, the next recruitment project or whatever else it may be. I really do love taking to like you said, videography and things like that. Um, so whenever we have like events on campus, like there was something um I guess a few months ago during school. Um, and I can't even remember the name of what it was. I want to say Get a Clue, but I don't think that's what it was called. I think it was just a service event or service club event on campus. And I just went around to some of the clubs that I thought could potentially partner with Circle K. And I just was like, hey, do you want to do an interview with us? And things like that. And so I asked them like maybe 3 questions, and it was just a really big hit, in my opinion. I think it was really cool and fun to do, to get our name out there, to get their name out there. Um, but as far as going into this year, I think just more presence on social media, showing them that, we're dedicated to service, we're dedicated to fellowship, growing leaders, things like that. Um, so I think, Instagram doing reels or like TikTok or things like that, following like the e-board or things like that. I've seen District do videos like that. I actually just saw yours before this call. And I was like, that's so nice. Like I want us to do that. And I want potential members to see that we're not like, I don't know, aliens or something, but like we're actual human beings, and like this is what we do. Like we have service, we do school, but we do other things. And I just want them to see that too.
Right, right. No, yeah, I had so much fun doing the day in the life, which of course was all Sydney's idea for us to do. But it's really fun to just kind of show things
Yeah.
off to the other sides besides CKI that, make up the individuals that are leaders in CKI. I think, some folks lean more towards having like individuals like say myself as governor making a governor's Instagram that's like separate to, CKI stuff. But I've
Hmm.
always been of the belief that it's better to if you're promoting individuals in the club, it's better to promote like their personal social media, things
Hmm.
that, not only will kind of push them to integrate CKI into their personal pages, but also get other people to see them as well-rounded and like full individuals. Because there's so many other ways and I mean, we talk about fellowship and we talk about networking in CKI.
Mhm.
One of the greatest ways to kind of figure that out is for someone to say, go to my personal Instagram from my day in the life and then realize, oh, he's also involved in this other thing that I was kind of interested in, but I didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
Now I know someone. So, things like that is always super, super important. So I'm glad you're kind of thinking about, how to just show the full circle and, full depth of a person in CKI. I think
Mhm.
that's really important. I don't want to keep you for too much longer because, you've got so much to do with your presidency, but I appreciate that
Mhm.
you've been on. And I'm going to leave you with my last question that I ask all my guests, which is to
Okay.
share a diva moment that they have seen in CKI, something big and bold that they have witnessed during their time in CKI.
Okay. And I have been thinking about this question in the back of my head like this whole entire conversation. Um, I feel like it has to be at like decon, um, or district convention for those that may not know what decon stands for. Um, and I'm trying to think of like the best moment to choose from. Um, Maybe just diva moment. Probably getting ready with my girls, City and Angel. We're little fashionistas, I'll say. And so when it came to like going downstairs for the award ceremony, we definitely probably took the longest to get ready. And that's probably like the most diva-ist thing that I can remember right now. But some of the best events happened at DCon and also Fall Call. That was a lot of fun fall call. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, I'm hoping to see you at Fall Call and I'm hoping to see you at DCon.
Hmm.
But I mean, I do love the fact that for say like, the President's Banquet at DCon or things like that, we do get dressed up and look nice and it's
Hmm.
always so fun to see everyone looking nice and feeling good. I think that's the part that I like most is that everyone's
Hmm.
like they're dressed to their best and they feel so confident and they really feel the essence of leadership that I always see in them, but maybe sometimes they don't always see. So that's super
Hmm.
cool, and a great diva moment. So thank you so much for
Hmm.
sharing, and thank you again for being on. I hope you have a great rest of your day and a wonderful service here.
Thank you. You
All
as
right.
well.
Thanks for tuning in to the Diva Checkpoint podcast with me, Tyler Rosado. For more episodes, be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, if you've got something to say, we want you to be a guest on our show. Head over to bit.ly/CKI podcast for more information. Until next time, keep leading loud, CKI.